The film opens with a chaotic scene in a hospital delivery room. A woman is giving birth but something is wrong. The medical staff, including a doctor named Rose, are in a frenzy. The mother is panicking, asking if she's going to be okay. The baby isn't breathing. Amidst the chaos, Rose's phone rings. It's her husband Scott calling to say their son Bradley bit a kid at school. Rose dismisses his plea to leave, insisting she has to stay. She tells him their son's wife is already at the school and that she'll be there in an hour, but Scott tells her she's not there. Rose remains impassive, prioritizing her job. Later, Rose's exhaustion is evident as she lies down in the hospital lounge. A colleague finds her and tells her to go to a bed, but Rose says the floor is softer. She's then seen at home with her daughter Lily, who is excited to tell her about her day at school. Lily mentions a story about a spider named Anansi and asks if they can get a spider. Rose playfully engages with her but then snaps at a woman in a restaurant who touches Lily. Lily then confides in Rose that she's not getting enough attention. The next morning, Rose is late for work and asks her neighbor Pauline to watch Lily, who is sick. Lily is distraught and clings to her mother, who leaves anyway. Rose's work at the hospital is shown to be high pressure and focused on life and death. She's seen working on a patient giving birth and then receives a phone call from Pauline, who tells her that Lily is still sick. Rose, however, is too busy to talk and tells Pauline she'll call her back later. She doesn't realize this will be her last conversation with her daughter. At the hospital, a distraught woman named Celie, Lily's mother, arrives and is told by a hospital employee that her daughter Lila has been sent to the medical examiner's office because she died of bacterial meningitis. The hospital employee, who we learn is Dr. Casper, tells Celie that they don't have Lila's body and that their record keeping is a mess. Celie becomes furious and demands to speak to the person who saw her daughter. She confronts Dr. Casper, who flees and locks herself in her office. Celie is told by the police to leave. She later finds Dr. Casper and follows her home. Dr. Casper refuses to let Celie in, but Celie forces her way inside. She discovers a lab in Dr. Casper's house and a pig with a breathing tube, a subject of her experiments, is there. Celie sees a young girl in the lab with an IV attached to her. The girl is Lila. Celie is shocked and asks how this is possible. Dr. Casper explains that Lila's genetic profile made her a perfect candidate for an experimental treatment. She's been working on a serum derived from fetal pigs that triggers cell regeneration. She says she's been working on a cure for death. Celie decides to stay with Lila and help Dr. Casper. She learns that the experimental treatment is working and Lila is slowly regenerating. Celie is thrilled to see signs of life in her daughter, but Dr. Casper is more cautious, reminding her that Lila is not fully herself yet. The film also reveals a more personal side of Dr. Casper. She talks about her mother, a biology teacher who taught her about regeneration by having her cut off a starfish's arm. She also reveals that her mother died of Parkinson's disease. The film then shows Dr. Casper and Celie's life with Lila. Celie is devoted to her daughter and Dr. Casper. She's happy to see Lila's progress. Dr. Casper, on the other hand, is increasingly frantic, trying to find a way to make more of the serum, which is running out. She tells Celie that she can't make more and that she needs fetal tissue from someone with a specific blood type and HLA markers. Celie offers her own, but Dr. Casper says it would kill Lila. Dr. Casper, in her desperate search for a solution, finds a match in a woman named Emily Parker, who is in her second trimester. She explains to Celie that she has to lie to Emily about her baby's health to get her to come in for an amniocentesis. Celie is horrified by this ethical breach, but Dr. Casper is resolute, saying that this experiment is bigger than them. The film ends with Celie and Dr. Casper having a heated discussion about the ethics of what they are doing to save Lila, focusing on the increasingly desperate and morally questionable actions of Celie and Dr. Casper. The story picks up with Celie and Dr. Casper discussing their next move. Dr. Casper explains that they need to obtain more fetal tissue to continue Lila's treatment. Celie, hesitant but ultimately committed to saving her daughter, goes along with Dr. Casper's plan. Their target is a pregnant woman named Emily, who is a patient at the hospital where Celie works as a nurse. Dr. Casper, having already manipulated Emily's test results, has scheduled her for an amniocentesis. Emily and her husband are anxious but hopeful, unaware of the sinister plan. During the procedure, Emily talks to Celie, who is assisting the doctor. Emily shares her struggle with infertility and her deep desire to have a baby. She also mentions her husband's overprotective nature and her own fears about the pregnancy. Celie, listening to Emily's story, feels a pang of guilt but suppresses it for the sake of her own daughter. She continues to lie to Emily, reassuring her that everything will be fine. The plan is for Celie to continue to manipulate Emily's test results, forcing her to undergo multiple amniocentesis throughout her pregnancy. Each procedure would provide them with the necessary amniotic fluid to keep Lila alive. However, their plan is derailed when Emily decides to switch hospitals, choosing one in the city rather than the local one. Celie, panicking, tells Dr. Casper that Emily is leaving and that their plan is in jeopardy. Dr. Casper is furious, accusing Celie of not doing enough to stop her. The tension between the two women escalates. Celie confronts Dr. Casper about her past, revealing that she knows Dr. Casper's mother was also an organ donor and that she experimented on her after her death. Dr. Casper, in a rare moment of vulnerability, admits that she did everything she could to keep her mother alive. She defends her actions as a desperate attempt to save a loved one, drawing a parallel to Celie's own situation. Celie, still feeling guilty and desperate, takes matters into her own hands. She goes to Emily's house under the pretense of delivering her medical records. She makes small talk with Emily, who is visibly uncomfortable and anxious. Celie offers her a cup of tea which she has secretly laced with a drug to induce labor. Emily drinks the tea and soon goes into a seizure, prompting Celie to call for an ambulance. She then performs a section on Emily and Emily's baby is delivered. The scene in the lab is a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. Celie, trembling and covered in blood, hands the placenta to Dr. Casper. The look on her face is one of profound shock and dawning horror. She stammers, insisting that she never meant to kill Emily, that she only wanted to induce labor to get the necessary material. Dr. Casper, however, is not concerned with the moral implications of the act. Her focus is clinical and absolute. She takes the placenta, her eyes gleaming with a mix of triumph and cold calculation. She immediately begins the process of extracting the required fetal tissue, her movements quick and precise. She works with a frenetic energy, a scientist on the verge of a major breakthrough, oblivious to the fact that she is standing next to a woman who has just committed an unspeakable crime for her sake. As Dr. Casper centrifuges the tissue and prepares the new serum, she mutters to herself about the success of her methodology. She explains to Celie in a detached instructional tone the precise components of the new substrate and why it is superior to the previous one derived from Lila's own bone marrow. She explains that the fresh, potent placental material will provide the perfect blend of growth factors and stem cells needed to fully regenerate Lila's nervous system, a part that had been struggling with the inadequate bone marrow serum. Celie, meanwhile, stands by, her hands shaking, her gaze fixed on the blood on the floor. The weight of what she has done, the sound of Emily's last desperate pleas echoes in her mind. The joy she had once felt at the prospect of saving her daughter is now eclipsed by a crushing sense of guilt and dread. She understands now that she has crossed a line she can never uncross. Finally, Dr. Casper prepares the new transfusion bag and attaches it to Lila's cannula. She increases the flow rate, targeting the new potent serum directly to Lila's damaged spine and brain. They wait, both holding their breath. For a moment nothing happens. Then Lila's chest, which had been moving only from the ventilator, begins to move on its own. A weak, raspy sound escapes her lips. It is not speech, but a sound that has not been heard since her death. Celie's face, etched with despair, finally breaks into a glimmer of hope. Tears stream down her face as she whispers, "My baby." Lila's eyes slowly flutter open. Celie rushes to her side, caressing her face, telling her that she's here and everything will be all right. But as Lila's eyes focus, there is something off. They are not the bright, lively eyes of the little girl Celie remembers. They are distant, almost vacant. Lila looks past her mother and focuses on Dr. Casper. She then utters her first words since her revival, a chillingly simple phrase that is not a plea but a question about her own existence, a question devoid of the emotion and personality that Celie had longed for. The film ends with a close-up on Celie's face, a look of utter desolation and sorrow. She has her daughter back, but she has a horrifying realization that she has not saved the little girl she knew. She has created something else entirely, a vessel, a biological marvel, but a piece of her soul has been lost in the process, a soul she traded for the life of another woman. The final image of the movie lingers on Lila's face, a chilling testament to the dangers of playing God and the high cost of a miracle. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.